Okay, I I've had this idea for a little while, and I've been really wrestling with how I was going to present it in a video because even in my mind, it's a little bit not so clear to articulate. But I wanted to talk about how I sometimes approach perfume and how I can experience some perfumes. And this doesn't happen with every fragrance that I smell, but it's probably the most common way for me to, I guess, understand a perfume or experience it. And like I said, it doesn't happen with every fragrance. And I'm sure that I'm absolutely positive I am not the only one that does this. And other people also talk about seeing colors when they smell a perfume or feeling or experiencing textures in a fragrance when they're smelling it. So it's a really interesting thing to me because when I think about it in a musical sense, there are a lot of different analogies between the way music is structured and the way perfume is structured. I want to say at this point, I am in no way even close to ever calling myself a musician. I have this very old, very cheap guitar, which I've only just tuned up and will probably go out of tune before the end of this video. About probably 20 years ago, I decided that I wanted to teach myself guitar. I bought a very cheap acoustic guitar, started learning, but I was never disciplined or enough to practice to get to a stage where I would even consider calling myself a guitar player. What I do know is a little bit about music theory. I know a little bit about scales and the way chords are constructed. And I have very terrible technique, but I think I know enough to be able to demonstrate to you just the kind of things that I think about when I might be smelling a perfume and I can appreciate its beauty or simplicity or its complexity. It's whether it is something that is symphonic in nature or just purely simple, catchy melody like a song could be. And I'll try and explain that a little bit further in the video. But let me start by the very basics, okay? So we all know that all fragrance are presented as a series of notes. And most of us should know that a lot of the times those notes are a way to visually describe a perfume when you can't smell it. And we all should know that notes do not necessarily equal ingredients. Yes, you can have an ingredient that can be a note in a note pyramid, but when we're talking about raw materials, a lot of the times a note on a note pyramid could be made up of a variety of different raw materials. So in music, we have notes on a scale, and you have your major scale. Oh, there you go. And in perfumery, we have a series of notes much more unlimited than the notes of a musical scale, but you get my drift. When I hear a note, I should probably refer to myself because, like I said, not everyone does this, but different notes on a guitar, for instance, have different pitches, obviously, on the scale, and they can represent notes that you might smell in a perfume. So this is a C note, on my guitar at least. And this is also a C note, an octave higher. This is a C note on a different string, and an octave higher as well. And so you can have the same note in perfumery that comes across differently in different perfumes. I'm trying to avoid going too much into detail with this, but you get my drift. And the way I think about accords in perfume as well, the way a chord in music is structured, a chord in music is basically made up of 2 or 3 or more different notes that are harmonious. Okay, so this is a C major chord. Okay, and this is an A minor chord. And if you know a little bit about music theory, A minor and C major both work on similar notes, but because of the way they're arranged, they have a different characteristic. And this is the way I sometimes view accords in perfumery. So, for instance, let's take the 11 note in perfume, and most of the time, leather is constructed using a variety of different materials. Therefore, you can get a whole bunch of different styles of leather in different fragrances. And that's the way I sort of interpret a lot of fragrances with different accords. So you can have different chords, different ways to do an accord. So this is like a C major open. This is a C major bar chord, which sounds slightly different and is probably easier to play for a lot of people. One of them is easier to play. And the point I'm trying to make is that I think about the skill of a perfumer constructing and composing different things, different materials and accords in a perfume formula, the same way as a really skilled composer would choose harmonious chords in a song that all work well together, that work in the same key, and it takes knowledge, it takes practice, and this is why I think that you can draw some parallels between things like, if here's a way I look at clone perfumes, okay? So you can, let's just say I can play this chord progression and sound like a particular song that's written by an original artist, okay? But they have clearly come up with that idea, and I am just copying what I think they're playing. And unless that composer of that song shows me exactly the way they play it and with all their nuances, I'm never going to get it exactly right. I can make a good duplicate of it, but is it going to be original? I don't know. And maybe some people, for whatever reason, might like my version of it, but it's always just going to be a copy that's never got quite right. And that's the way I kind of approach thinking about fragrances, along with music. Like people will always have their own personal taste. You can compare genres and styles. Like popular fragrances are popular because they have found a formula and they have found a way to mass produce that I'm talking about designer fragrances, and the same way with, and it works the same way with music, song, pop formulas. There's a way to rework things that have been done before. And then you can get into more specialized, complex styles of music as well as fragrances. And it takes a little bit more, I guess, mastery of that instrument to be able to play. For instance, when I was really into music and thinking about great musicians and the stuff that they have to learn and master, you think about classical musicians, you think about jazz musicians knowing all that music theory. And it's the same way I kind of think about really good perfumers. They don't have to necessarily know everything, but it's that dedication to that craft and getting better and understanding their instrument, for instance. And so that's why I can never really have a lot of respect for perfumes that are basically pre-made oils placed in a solvent, and that's it. You know, they look at a gas chromatography readout of a particular perfume, and they're basically just playing along to an estimation of what that chord progression might be in a song. So looking at perfume in the way I look at music, you know, I can understand the concept of the high top notes that don't ring out as long as they do in music. On a music frequency scale, the higher frequencies don't vibrate for as long as the lower frequencies, or they have a higher vibration, but they don't seem to ring out the way lower notes do. And it kind of, you can transfer that to materials that are used for top notes, materials for middle notes, and materials for bass notes. So you got your top notes, middle notes, bass notes, and that's pretty much the way I look at it. I feel I feel very self-conscious talking about this because I'm worried that people are not making sense of it. But I'm just trying really hard to, I guess, explain to you the way one person can experience a fragrance that's based on one particular sense, which is smell, but making it analogous to another sense, which is an oral thing. A lot of people think of colors and paintings. Paintings for me don't necessarily work as well because I don't see a perfume as a static thing. Well, a lot of good perfumes develop and move along in time, like a musical composition might. And having said all that, just because one perfume might be a symphony doesn't mean that a 3-minute catchy pop song can't be a good perfume either. It just depends on what you're in the mood for. I hope you'll forgive me for this very long esoteric ramble, but I just wanted to explain myself a little bit more. I recently got a notification from YouTube telling me that it's my channel's 8th birthday. So I've been uploading videos about fragrance for 8 years now. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank every one of my subscribers, especially those who have been with me for now most of those 8 years, people who interact with me, who like the videos, who leave comments. I really appreciate you so much, and I sure didn't think I would be doing it for this long, let alone having a subscriber base, but you guys keep me doing this, although after this video, I'm not sure if you're going to hang around, but thank you so much. I am going to be going to the airport shortly to attend Exons and visit Milan, so I will probably post something from there in the next few days. Thank you for watching, and if you stuck around this long, I really appreciate you. Thank you. Bye.